Shalom, people. This is Brother Lyles coming at you with another video. And the news flash is the head of the Wagner military group in Russia has died in a plane crash along with 6 other people that was on his private jet. Now, the Wagner military group was the equivalent of the private military contractor group they had fighting in Iraq for America called Blackwater, who later changed their name to XI or ZG or something to that effect. They changed the name. These were sometimes former police officers, former soldiers, just ordinary, sometimes Joes that were, maybe good with weapons, or maybe, were martial artists or something that wanted to go out and wanted to fight in a war without having to deal with the military regulations and all those kinds of things. And they would receive private training out in eastern North Carolina. I think the name of the place was Morac, North Carolina. And they had them going in different places. Rock was one of them, but they had them going many other places. Some of them were former special forces sometimes. And we know the problems that they had in Iraq, where they was basically like a bunch of cowboys going around sometimes just being reckless and killing innocent civilians. And that incident that happened with Condoleezza Rice, they they tried to prosecute them, but they wasn't able. Well, what the Wagner group did, they recruited straight out of the Russian prisons for their contractors. They basically gave them opportunity probably to get their freedom and earn some money at the same time. And so there definitely was a lot of controversy sometimes in the places that they would go fight, because basically you got a bunch of probably rapists, arsonists, murderers, whoever that once they get through doing whatever the mission is, who's to say that they're not gonna take up some of their criminal habits in the countries where they're paid to fight, because maybe the money that they're receiving from the Wagner group might not be what they want. But anyway, they had a lot of success supposedly in Syria. I think that's when they said that America first kind of caught wind of who they were, because they could, I guess, tell they wasn't ordinary Russian soldiers. And also in Africa, where some African nations to try to fight against the terrorist problems, they called the Wagner group because of their success in Syria fighting terrorists. But all good things must come to an end. Apparently the head of the Wagner group felt that his contractors, his soldiers, were so good that they were more valuable than the Russian army, and that he felt that this war that they were fighting in Ukraine, where most of the victories, a lot of the victories were being gained by his Wagner group. And that's not to say they didn't have some losses, but I think some of the major battles that were being won was being won by the Wagner Group, and I guess the army. He said that the army generals in the Russian army were holding back ammunition and stuff from his soldiers, and so he got upset, and to show his displeasure, he went to the Russian military headquarters and took it over and basically tried almost like some kind of coup or something. He finally was able to negotiate a deal with the Russian government, and they didn't press any charges except to tell him that he had to leave Russia and live in Belarus. But they didn't disband the Wagner Group because they're such an integral part of their fighting force. But I'm pretty sure that although it said that him and Vladimir Putin were hip and thigh because he was so important to him, that affront to Vladimir's Putin's authority couldn't go unchecked. And I wonder, was he stupid enough to believe that his day was not going to come where Vladimir Putin was going to have to put him in check for what he did, because he has iron fist when it comes to his rule of that country. And so I wouldn't be surprised if either somebody planted a bomb on the plane or it got shot down by a Russian jet or a ground surface-to-air missile. It probably was something like that. I don't think it was any mechanical failure or anything like that. And of course, like I said, we will never know that, but I'm pretty sure it was probably a bomb or a missile. And what's so crazy to me is, America is talking about, oh yeah, we ain't surprised that Vladimir Putin, we wouldn't be surprised if he retaliated, although we don't have proof, right? But all these times where you see people here in this country die mysterious deaths, and it has to be tied to the government. It's funny how they always say that is such a outlandish conspiracy theory that you are saying that the government, the American government, would take somebody out to send a message. That is so ridiculous. You're watching too many movies. You reading too many Tom Clancy novels. That kind of stuff doesn't happen. But here we have a direct mirror image of what America does, except that, like I said, Russia, they don't really care. And in fact, they probably would want their public to know that Vladimir Putin did it, so that they'll know, hey, don't mess with him. But this thing of going back and forth with America and Russia is just another form of the Cold War that I grew up in, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And then when Russia collapsed, the Soviet Union collapsed and broke into different little pieces, and America felt that Russia was on the ropes, and then Russia started building itself back up. Basically, what America is trying to do is put a quick slap down on them by using Ukraine as its proxy army. But how much more of the American money, American attention is going to be pointed in the direction of Ukraine? Only time will tell. But I don't think it has is not going to be determined by Washington. As we all know, the Most High rules in earth below and heaven above. So all this is at His orchestrating, and I don't know how this turn with the Wagner Group leader being killed. Is that gonna demoralize them, or does they have somebody waiting in the wings to take over? That's gonna be even better leader for them than this guy, who I think they say back in the 90s he was a hot dog salesman. Now tell me how you go from being a hot dog salesman to leading such a powerful entity as the Wagner Group. How is this going to affect what they're doing in Africa? And also the fact that the stuff that's going on with the African nations signing these agreements with Russia in order to allow Russia into Africa for their natural resources and also as allies. It's nothing new. This is a Cold War all over again, except that the stakes are higher. We know that they're trying to use this global warming as a thing to fundamentally change everything, like how we commute, how we live, and all these different things. Primarily they want to go to electric cars, using battery technology. And we know that most, if not all, of the material that you need to make these batteries is coming out of Africa. Therefore, this is to them like a life and death type thing, because they definitely don't want to be competing with Russia and China and all these other countries. They wanted to keep it all for themselves. But who knows what's going on in the big meetings? Sometimes you almost get the idea that the American politicians, including the government, knows that something is amiss about America, and that America is going to have some tough times ahead, if not on the verge of being put down to the status of just being an ordinary nation. That some of them are waiting for the pin to drop, and then they know that if the defenses came down and Russia or China could try to come into this country and get some revenge, they leave the American populace to their own devices, and they would fly off somewhere else. Sometimes I think that because when you look at the fact that they still have so much dependence on China, and they still have so much dependence on their Russian oil, which actually right now they're saying they're still doing the thing where Russian tankers will pull up to another tanker and unload its oil into another tanker, and then it'll get sold on the world market. Probably far less than what they would get, but it's still yet getting in the world market. So it all kind of ties back together. But with all this, we just got to continue to watch and pray. I still contend that just like in the movie Riddick, when he was on that one planet crematoria, and one of the other prisoners was like, what kind of inmate are you gonna be while you here, Riddick? He said, I'm not gonna be here long. And then once he kind of realized what was gonna happen with the situation with the mercenaries that had brought him in, and the prison guard, who by the way, the prison guards has somewhat of like of a Russian accent, kind of, or whatever. And they was going back and forth with the mercenaries on how much money they were supposed to give them for bringing Riddick in, or whatever. And so they got into it as Riddick kind of surmised was going to happen. And right before it happened, he told these, the other prisoners that he wanted to, let them know. He said, listen, he said, whenever it happens, it's going to happen fast. He said, stick on my tail or die here on this planet. I think that the Most High is letting us know that whatever is going to happen fast. And we need to be listening into what the Holy Spirit is telling us to do and where He's going to tell us to go. And when He tells us to do something, He tells us to go, we better move fast, because it's going to come down hot and hard. As you see all the stuff that's going on in the world today, all these, wars, people dying hundreds at a time in the Mediterranean, trying to get away from their nations in Africa because of the stuff that's going on. One day that could be a situation that a lot of Americans could be finding themselves in if they're going to be trying to get out of this country, because conditions are going to be so bad, either because of an invasion or because of collapse of this whole thing, or both. So when it happens, it's going to happen fast. You need to be able to move as the Holy Spirit tell you to move. So with that, I'm going to ask you to give this video a thumbs up. I'm going to ask you to subscribe. I'm going to ask you to leave a comment. I'm also going to ask you to check out some more of my videos. I think Most High might have something in there for you that will be a blessing. So with that, I'm going to say shalom.